Peace. What's going on? It's early. And I'm doing a little draw on this YouTube joint right quick. I did a draw on Facebook the other day about assets and liabilities. And I wanted us to really think about that because I'm gonna do it again. You know what I'm saying? When you think about assets and liabilities, you're thinking about things that can further your wealth and things that can possibly halt it or stop it. You understand what I'm saying? And we usually see assets and liabilities dealt with from a financial basis, right? Dealing with economics and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Using your money properly, investments and all of that type of stuff. Well, I'm looking at assets and liabilities from a whole nother perspective. I'm looking at assets and liabilities from a community perspective. I'm taking it from a different aspect and looking at the community itself as a whole and what are the assets and the liabilities that make up a community. You understand what I'm saying? And we have to take into consideration that in communities we want assets. We want things that further the community's growth. We want resources and we want things that further the community's growth. You know what I'm saying? And help the community itself become an asset internally to itself so it can be an asset externally to other communities and so on and so forth by collaborating and uniting and things of that nature. But the situation is, though, our community specifically, we deal more with liabilities. Number one, the way we express and utilize our economics. First of all, for instance, we'll buy a car. You know what I'm saying? Brand new car. Change everything around about that car. And then take that car back and try to sell it back later on and realize that the value has been depreciated. That's a liability. Why? Because you alter the original structure of the car. That's a liability. We make bad decisions. A bad decision can be a liability, especially when you're dealing with organizing, when you're dealing with cleaning up your community, when you're dealing with trying to make a change and implement social justice and things of that nature in your community, when you know it's the external aspect of your community is full of liabilities. We have to learn how to pick the liabilities out of our community. You understand what I'm saying? And either get rid of the liability, because that's what you do in business. You take your liabilities and you try to turn them into assets and you get rid of them. You understand what I'm saying? Or if you can't turn it into an asset, what you do is you eliminate the liability specifically, period, so it cannot return or it cannot pop back up in your records or whatever. So it's the same thing when we're dealing with our community and we're dealing with liabilities in the community, aka people, situations, things, and circumstances. We have to remove the liabilities. If we can't remove the liability, then we should at least attempt to turn the liability into an asset. And if we can't turn the liability into an asset, then that's what we do. We get rid of it. And we have to take a very good look at the external aspects of our community, the things that are placed in our community by design. You understand what I'm saying? And how it affects us inside of our community by design. Now, is a drug dealer an asset or a liability? Is a pedophile an asset or a liability? Is somebody shooting guns and killing, is that assets or liabilities? You have to see where I'm coming from to see what I'm saying. Because if you say, well, I don't really know, then we got a problem. We got a problem. Because liabilities cause you more problems and creates more liabilities, while assets create more assets. You see what I'm saying? An asset benefits anyone who is utilizing the asset, or wherever that asset is sitting at, it benefits that particular environment. You understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that can come out of an asset, but there's also a lot of things that can come out of a liability. And it's usually those things that are of the lower self, those things of lower nature comes out of liabilities. You see what I'm saying? Because once a liability is manifested, the person who is the liability or the person who contains the liabilities, they have to continue to work in a certain way in order for those liabilities to basically have some benefit to them. They have to become deceptive in other things in order for the liability to work, or to make the liability seem as if it is working. And it is in the same process of a thought pattern. You can have an asset thinking or you can have a liability thinking. A liability thought process is when you are not able to be accountable and responsible for your own actions and the creations that you make out of your own thought process. An asset thought process is being able to accept and be responsible for your own actions. Therefore, learning from the said mistake and perfecting thyself in that particular arena, therefore making that no longer applicable to you, and you are making yourself an asset because guess what you've done? You've cleaned yourself up. You've cleaned yourself up consciously and subconsciously. And in the process, you clean in the soul. This is asset thinking. But around us, we have a liability thinking. Look at our people as a whole. We're materialistic. We spend so much money on things that we can never get the same value back that we paid for them. That is a liability thought process. And we see the same things in our community. You'll spend $50,000 on a Mercedes Benz, but you live inside of a project. You understand what I mean? When that money could have been a down payment on a house, that's asset thinking. And it's the same thing with these cats in the community killing each other. They are liability. They are liabilities. And we have to remove the liabilities, and we have to remove those elder liabilities that are speaking and whispering into their ears and influencing them. See, this is a cycle. When you see the youth doing something, it's a continuation of a cycle from the elders before them, their uncles and brothers and so on and so forth. And they keep the game up. This is what I mean when I say we dropped the ball. That's liability type of thinking. We got to change the game. Become an asset, understand what assets mean, and apply the asset liability paradigm to everything you do in life. And you will see what's what. And when you look into your community, and when you're getting with voting and all of those types of things, apply the asset and liability paradigm to it so you can see. Be honest with yourself. Your friends may be liabilities. And you know it, but you just run with them because you feel obligated. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell the truth, but you're not a real friend, because a real friend will tell the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. A friend will warn you, a real one. I'm going to tell you the truth, not what you want to hear. So learn the science of asset and liability. Peace.